All right. Good afternoon, everyone. This is Rob McCoy with Holganix. We're going to get started with our uh, webinar today, all about sod farming. As you can see, the handsome guy on the right, that's Mike Braddell. He's going to be helping us today. He's from Lakeside Sod near Buffalo, New York. He's got some of his crew there with him, and as you can see, he is one of the guys out in the fields, just like the rest of you, working to make grass green and get it out to your customers. So Mike, thanks for being on with us again today.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me again.
Also, we have Dr. Bob here. Say hi, Dr. Bob.
Hi, guys.
Dr. Bob is he's going to be our science backup. For all the questions that we can't answer, Dr. Bob can answer. And then I'm the only guy that's not with a plant in a picture, but wore green shoes just in case, so that you knew I was in touch with keeping things green. All right, so you can see that you have that panel to the right, or wherever it may be on your screen. We'll have everybody muted, but anytime that you have a question, feel free to type it in. We'll be able to see those questions coming in as we go along, and we'll either answer them at that exact time, or we will wait until we're in that section of the presentation to answer them when it's possibly more appropriate. So really what this webinar, not seminar, is about is how are we going to decrease the harvest time when we're trying to grow sod. So when we talk about Holganix Bio 800, we're really trying to harness the power of the soil microbes. So when you think about, like in this picture, you have a forest. In a forest, nobody came and planted all those trees and nourished them and made sure that they were going to grow to be healthy. They're in their native environment. What we try to do with our Bio 800 product is reproduce that native environment within the soil, so that the plants that we're either growing from seed or transplanting will feel as though they're in their most comfortable and most productive environment to grow and to grow healthy. So Bio 800 is a 100% organic plant probiotic. There's over 800 species of microorganisms, and that diversity is really one of the keys to why it can work the way that we're saying. We don't know what's missing in the soil. It can be different from one spot to 10 feet away. It could be the same in one field versus another field that's a different 100 acres that you're working on. So when we have that diversity, it's filling in different aspects of the soil ecosystem to give that plant the idea that it's in its home environment and it's going to be able to grow strong. Dr. Bob, do you want to elaborate on, one of the things that we're doing now is DNA fingerprinting on all of our batches to know exactly what species are in each batch of Bio 800. You want to elaborate on that?
Well, the strength of the product is this diversity. As we said, there's generally over 800 species in the product. Sometimes it even exceeds 1,000 species. But what we're checking is to make sure that the ones that we feel are important, and so we can keep the product consistent. On the other hand, diversity as opposed to consistency is an important factor. As Rob just said, a certain group of bacteria or a single bacteria even might be missing in a certain area, but yet very important to the production of the plant that you're growing on that area. In this case, a species of a grass in the sod. And so Holganix will have placed that missing piece in that environment, and it will thrive in that environment and interact with the plant. Therefore, the plant will thrive in that environment.
Great. Thanks, Dr. Bob. So here's a little bit of a more generic breakdown of what we were discussing. Dr. Bob, I'll let you handle this. This is your forte.
So there's 4 slides here, and in the first one, we're talking about the microbes can grow. The class of microbes called plant growth promoting bacteria, or PGPB. And these bacteria are a type of bacteria, and it's a rather large group, and it goes across species. These bacteria are bacteria that in the soil associate with plant roots and do one thing or another. It's out of a list of about 8 or 9 things to stimulate growth. For instance, they might shield the plants in terms of the mass of their colonies around the roots, and thereby shield the plants from infectious agents. They might solubilize nutrients like phosphorus or potassium or micronutrients and so forth. They might chelate nutrients like iron or micronutrients. By this solubilization and chelation, they make these elements available to the plants. They might help the plants source water, like in the case of mycorrhizae. They actually send out fungal mycelia far from the plant roots and bring back moisture and nutrients along with that water. So there's a lot of things that these microbes do. Like in number 3 below there, you can see help stimulate tolerance to stress. Sometimes by, again, making certain chemistry available to plants. Other times, some of that chemistry actually communicates with the plants. Like, for instance, it might signal the oncoming of a drought, letting the plant shut down rather than and thereby prevent wilting. So there's a lot going on in these microbes in the soil. They are, in fact, something's going on every moment of the day between microbes and plants. And so that's why we think, our diverse population of microbes in Holganix 800 is really important.
All right, thanks, Dr. Bob. So one of the other components that we have used with Bio 800 is Blue Sky 2100, and it's a slow-release fertilizer. And you know that we've all heard of methylated urea before and trizone, but the key factor in using Blue Sky with the Bio 800 is the synergistic relationship that there is there. That there's food sources within the Blue Sky to help the Bio 800 work even better, and vice versa. We're going to touch on that a little bit more with Mike because he has used these two products together, but I wanted to give you a little bit of an introduction so that when we referenced it, it made sense.
Also, you should hope you caught back that the Blue Sky is a slow-release methylated urea.
Yep. So Blue Sky has nutrients to provide the green throughout the season, nutrient enhancers to promote nitrogen utilization by the plant, and other food sources like I've referenced before for the Bio 800 to work more efficiently as well. So now I'm sure that everybody has enjoyed listening to myself and Dr. Bob, but let's get to the point of why everyone would actually log on, and that's Mike. So, Mike, why did you initially try the Bio 800?
Like most sod farms, it comes a time where you need to push a product or push your sod to get it to harvest quicker because varying factors. And we're always trying to find a different way to harvest the sod faster to get the turf ready to go, strong enough. So one, it doesn't cost me as much to maintain that turf. Younger turf is cheaper turf. And two, just trying a different way to organically take care of the farm. I think anytime anybody consistently and constantly uses chemicals, it's depleting the soil, and the soil is what grows everything. So there's twofold. One, I'm trying to push sod and I'm trying to get it up quicker. And two, I'm also trying to take care of the soil.
Fantastic. And you know, Mike, a question that I have for you on top of that is I've talked with a lot of different sod farmers, and some of them have said, well, I'm not trying to decrease my harvest time because I still have to sell the sod. So what would be a benefit to using the Bio 800 if you're not trying to decrease your harvest time?
To be honest with you, you can, or they could try reducing their inputs. For me personally, we do it because instead of planting, you never can be specific on how much acreage you can plant. You might plant, throw a number out, 100 acres this year, and next year when you go to start getting into that, or the year after when you start, depending on your growth cycle, you might need 120, or you might only need 80. You just never know. So it gives us the flexibility of pushing a field along quicker. So if we do have a really good year, I've got sod that I can pull out of 2018 cycle and move it into this year and harvest it.
Great, thanks, Mike. So you kind of touched on this, but can you be more specific on how the products have reduced the harvest time? Maybe how you're incorporating them?
Yeah, this field here specifically, this is our bent grass, and that was planted the week of Labor Day in 2016. And this here, the harvest time on this is, I believe, right around in April. So by making the applications and doing what we could do to get this field ready, which what happened is I've usually planted so much bent grass a year. Some years I've got extra bent grass laying around. Some years I don't, but I'm never really in trouble with running out of it. Well, I had a couple of country clubs that called and never really let us know what was happening, and I needed sod in a hurry. So we used the Bio 800 and pushed this field along, and it just, we got to harvest it. And to be honest with you, we used small roll here, but I did use, I did cut big roll out of there with netting, but did cut the big roll too.
Mike, what defines finished or ready?
Pardon me?
What is the definition for finished or ready sod? In this case, bent grass sod.
It has to be completely filled in, so the turf on top has to be thick and lush, and it has to have strength. So part of what we consider strong is cutting a roll of sod, and our sod is 2 foot by 5 foot, by grabbing that sod and trying to lift it up from one end and having that hold together. If you can accomplish that, then that's a product that the end user can take off of the pallet and throw down on the ground, because they're not going to be ginger with handle your product gingerly. They're just going to throw it down. So you have to give them something that they can use. So that to me is what that means.
Thank you.
Mike, what results have you seen at different stages of crop development? And, you and I have talked a lot about putting down the product at time of seeding, but I know that you've mentioned, specifically pushing it at other times as well. Where have you used it, and what results have you seen?
We make applications on, I do the bent grass, and I do certain areas that I need to push bluegrass. So certain areas I know that are higher and drier that I'm going to need this spring. So I'll do that with that on the seedings that I've done this year. And so basically we do it on pond seeding. I do think that you do get better germination, more consistent germination. I can't tell you that your seed's going to jump out of the ground, but I do think you get a more uniform germination. And then we try to make another application, and I can tell you we make an application in October, but being up here in the Northeast, it all depends on the weather. I try to make an application. Sometimes it might be in late September. Sometimes I can get almost until November, but I'm still trying to hit it, that second application, where I get a good amount of growing season. So I aiding that grass, thickening it up, getting it healthy to go over winter. The roots develop a lot better over winter, and then in the spring it seems to just be healthier and ready to go and rebound quicker from the
To
cold
that
winter.
point, Mike, it may be cold out. You may think the soil's cold, but if you were to measure the soil temperature, and as long as it's 40 degrees or above, those bacteria are going to be doing their job.
Yeah, yeah. I'm just, I guess it depends on where you are in the country and what your growing seasons are, but ours are very limited, so I've got to count on getting everything I have done at a certain time to get that full impact of the growing season.
Yeah, that makes sense. And we have people on here from Arizona, Colorado, you name it, like all different parts of the country. So obviously the application methods or timing is going to vary based on what your crop cycles look like and what your needs are. But I'm trying to just give a different perspective for different timing that Mike's used it. And Mike, how many years have you been using Holganix?
This is our third year.
Okay.
Our third seeding.
And you've seen.
So I've made 2 applications on my bent grass, and I've made one application on some bluegrass so far.
So far this year?
Yes. The bent grass is a different situation, and I don't know if you want to get into that, but
we'll go back to that. I know what you're talking about.
Okay.
Yeah. So it really is. There's no straightforward answer. I think Mike was kind of hitting on that there's no definitive program that's just going to work for everybody. Everybody's environment's different. Turf types are different. Soil types are different. You have to figure out where you're going to get the best bang for the buck. But there's really only one way to do that. That's by, testing it or using it 100%.
Yes.
And Mike, you had hit on this before, input reductions. So you had said if you're not trying to decrease your harvest time, then you might possibly want to use the Bio 800 to reduce some of your other inputs. What input reductions have you seen in using the product?
I try not, well, I think I can decrease the fertilizer. I don't because I'm in such a time crunch. I only have a limited supply of sod, so we don't like to do stuff like that. I know you can. I do pull back on my herbicides when I'm using the Bio 800, especially with my bent grass. I pull my herbicides way back, and I get really, really good results. I get a really good kill on any of the weeds. I actually do have some reduction in fungicides. I know you're not supposed to. I know it's on the website that you're supposed to keep them at regular, but I don't. And actually, I've used one of the other products, the tree and shrub, trying to go after rust and dollar spot. And I've had some pretty good results with that.
And that's really one of the reasons that Mike is on here, besides having used the product for 3 years, is that he really is pretty innovative with how he utilizes the slight differences within our product. And he alluded to that with using the tree and shrub product to try and control disease a little bit more and specific diseases. Dr. Bob, do you want to hit on kind of why he would see a different result using one Bio 800 product versus another?
But with the tree and shrub, it has a different percent of fungus to bacteria, and we've done that specifically to try to make it be more productive as a disease prevention product. I wanted to ask another question, Mike, and too, that was about your herbicides. So you use less. And in so doing, if I was not a user, I would wonder what is your tolerance for less weed control?
You kind of broke up there.
What is your tolerance for less weed control?
What do you mean? Like, what is my what do I use?
No, you said you use less rates and you're getting satisfactory weed control, and I'm wondering how many weeds will you accept?
I won't accept any.
That's what I thought the answer was.
Yeah, there is no acceptable amount of weeds.
Okay.
You can't. Yeah, we're trying to sell a pristine product, and if you sell something with foreign grasses or weeds in it, that's a product that someone's not going to like, and you're going to get a bad reputation, and that's not going to work out for you too well.
Yeah, I don't know too many sod farms that are still in business that have any weeds in their sod.
No.
Another thing I wanted to hit on, and for Dr. Bob, there's a lot of misconceptions when we discuss reducing the pesticide inputs, specifically herbicide inputs. How does Bio 800 allow that, and how is that working to not only decrease the amount of weed control that's needed, but increase the result that you're seeing at the same time?
Well, it's my hypothesis that there's a certain bacteria in our product that produces organic or plant-produced biosurfactants. So the word surfactant, I think you're probably all familiar with. And why do you use surfactants? You use it to have better spreading of the pesticide and better penetration of the pesticide. And so when you tank mix your herbicide with Holganix 800, you're tank mixing it with a biosurfactant that I believe enhances the activity of the herbicide.
Yeah, and that's not just a result that we see on sod farms. That is a result that we see everywhere. Golf courses, lawn care companies, professional sports fields. They have all said the exact same thing, that it's a mind-boggling result that you can reduce the weed control so substantially, at most times half of the high rate, and still get a superior weed control from what you were getting with when you were using it at a normal rate on its own. So it really is a nice benefit to to using the product. Hey, Mike, so I know this is difficult, but take out of, your thought process that there's people in different parts of the country. Maybe in just one example, from time of seeding to time of harvest, can you describe one of your programs?
Using the Holganix, I do a 10-ounce application upon seeding, and I do
per 1,000 square feet.
I tank mix that with tenacity. And then, like I said, I try to get another application on in somewhere around October. We'll just leave it at that.
Mm-hmm.
Then I also try to make another application as early in the spring as I can get out there on the field. And that all depends on what location I'm at and the soil conditions, because, if it's too wet, I can't get out there. So as soon as I can get out there and it's firm enough, I'll go out there and make another application. And then I usually try to get out there and do something before you get into summer. I'll make another application then. But it all depends on what I'm trying to do with that field.
And you're typically going to harvest soon after that?
Yes.
What's the closest amount of time that you have applied the Bio 800 to the turf before harvest time?
Well, it all depends on the field, but usually, it could be within a month or two.
Okay.
Depends on when I need it and what's going on with the field. Do I have a program? Yeah, something I'm trying to do. A lot of it is for me. I'm not a scientist. I go out and I look at the field and see what it needs. I try to keep it growing, try to keep it lush, try to keep it green and moving along. And that's how I kind of do things. Now, fertilizer is different. We kind of stay with a certain program with that. But the Bio 800 is what do I need out of this field this year? How quick do I need this field this year? And that's where I make my decisions on what I'm going to do.
So, Mike, Rob's question made me think of something I've never talked to you about, and that is, Do you think I mean, obviously you think it's lush, you think it sticks together, handles well in the hands of your customer, but can you think of any advantages that your customer might have with Holganix treated sod versus not Holganix treated sod?
I know that it does help with root development. So um, I know that I've laid sod at my house, and I always use it upon installation of the sod. And we have people here who we sell sod to who we recommend that they use it in that way too. So if you have an application before it's harvested, I'm pretty sure it's going to help with root development and that sod knitting in.
Yep. All right.
Thank you.
So, Dr. Bob didn't even know this slide was coming up next. So, it's funny that you should ask that question because we've done a lot of testing with sod establishment once it's laid down. This is an example of Muirfield Village. They host quite a few PGA events, but the interesting story behind this is they decided to do a renovation to their 18th tee box area about, I think it was 7 weeks prior to their hosting the President's Cup for the PGA Tour. And you can see what they renovated. They laid down the new sod. That's the picture on the left is of when they laid it down. The picture on the right is 4 weeks later after a 14-ounce rate of Bio 800. And you can see how fast that roots in. And they were playing on that tee box 3 weeks after that picture on the right. The PGA Tour was. So they have very high standards for having well-established root systems and playability. So they were comfortable enough with the results that they had seen in the past to be that aggressive and still do that renovation only 7 weeks prior to a big time tournament.
In the middle of the summer.
In the middle of the summer, no less. If that's it, then we're going to sign off. Everyone, thank you. Have a good rest of the afternoon and enjoy your day.
Thank you.
Thanks.